Good morning and welcome to the webinar Cleaning Up Dirty Data, Dialed in Data for Better Messaging. Appreciate everybody joining today. As folks come in, we're going to go ahead and get started. There will be a recording distributed afterward, so no worries if you get in late or you need to leave early. So quickly, we're going to do some introductions first, and I want to point out that to the side, you will see a questions tab. We'll be answering questions during and at the end of today's webinar, so go ahead, drop them in if they're hot. We'll go ahead and address them early. If not, we'll save them to the end, and we do have facilitator extraordinaire Shikari monitoring the chat and keeping us up to speed. So let's do introductions really quick. I'll start. My name is Matt Johnson. I work in product marketing on the data and integration surface areas in the Customer I/O product. If you're not familiar with Customer I/O, we are the customer engagement platform of choice for early stage and high growth companies. I'll pass it over to Kyle.
Hey everyone, my name is Kyle Turcotts. I'm on the product marketing team at Twilio Segment, and excited to be here with this group.
Awesome.
And I'll pass it on to Nick.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm Nick Friedman de Bockhorst. I work with the McGaw agency. We're a consultancy that helps companies with their marketing stack, growth marketing, and data in order to bring them closer to their customers and speak with them in a personalized fashion. So we've been working with Segment since forever and Customer I/O for quite some time as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. So as we said at the top, we're talking about dirty data and getting your data dialed in for better messaging. I'm showing an agenda real quick. So we're going to have a discussion at the front. We're going to talk about data myths, and we're going to debunk those data myths. We're all marketers here. We know how crazy customer data can be. And then we're going to go into a scenario. We're actually going to talk about a company called Daisy's Donuts, right? We're staying on theme with donuts today. We'll talk about building profiles, powering customer journeys, and also, very, very importantly, building that feedback loop so you can report and learn, and then we'll wrap it up with an audience Q&A. Remember, post your questions in the chat, and Shikari will direct traffic on those. Hey, Nicole, welcome. Great to see you calling in from New York. Before we get started, we're going to jump in. I think we have a poll. Shikari, is that correct? Can we light this poll up? There we go. So we want to talk about data. So let's go ahead and start with biggest data friction points. You should all see a poll pop up in the chat. Go ahead and click. Let's see, we've got some answers coming in. This is amazing. This is amazing. All right, we're just looking at it. Oh, messy or incomplete user profiles. We hear about that all the time. Disconnected tools. Man, you guys are amazing. Just watching them going. So let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to have a discussion. So we've got 4 questions we're going to go through here, thinking about looking at the poll questions. I just want to jump in. Kyle, I'm going to send the first question to you. Dirty data. Tell me about some common sources of dirty data. I know as a marketer, I'm talking to customers everywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's really, there's a lot of challenges here, right? Like this is where Twilio Segment comes into play. Like we help clean up that dirty data, really. You know, dirty data can consist of honestly different types of data. It can, a lot of times the data doesn't communicate together. It's structured in different ways. So like you could define that as dirty just because, again, you're not able to leverage it and use it. You know, that's where Twilio Segment can come in and help, you know, make it so that it can talk to each other, clean it up. You know, common sources are really any of the tools in which you're trying to collect it from, right? Like, you know, that could be various ad tech platforms. That could be data within your data warehouse. That could be legacy data from older tools, you know, depending on how old your company is, and you're trying to now like leverage that and get that into a unified kind of profile. So there's a lot of different sources of this, unfortunately. But that's where like having a tool that can really get it to start talking in the same language is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd say, you know, the other place, Kyle, where I see that a lot is self-reported data. Tons of people are putting in their throwaway email address to sign up for a webinar. I'm sure nobody here has done that. And anything the sales team types in is always suspect in my experience. You know, so your lead forms, your those kinds of things. But then the other part is just getting started with the data that is good, or working in your strategy within those limitations of your data is really key. maybe don't personalize quite as much until you trust the data, but you can still get your nurturing out there and take advantage of what you have.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'm hearing CRMs, I'm hearing marketing channels, I'm hearing customer service platforms, right? Customer data comes from everywhere because we're talking to customers everywhere. Um, following up on that, so we know data can be dirty, we know it can be messy. Why are you thinking, or why are you seeing marketers kind of avoiding data? We think about our experiences with brands, right? And how many times have you received an email or an SMS or even a display ad that has no relevance?
Yeah.
I'll throw that one to you, Nick. Why do you think marketers are avoiding data?
I think it's intimidating. I think it's really easy to get wrapped up in how do I clean up all of my data, right? I need to do my data warehouse. I need to do customer IO. I need to do Salesforce. And it's easy to get stuck on saying I need a perfect data set before I can do anything. And it really is a journey, not a destination. Looking at your key data sources, rinsing it and washing it where you can, and making some incremental progress. If you try to take it all at once as an enterprise thing, that gets really, really hard to succeed at and kind of paralyzes you. What are you seeing, Kyle? I mean, you're working with lots of people now with warehouse activation and things like that. Is that where people are really struggling?
Yeah, I mean, I think like obviously the intimidation aspect that you mentioned is like spot on. But there's also the fact that, it's a struggle to get the data, right? It's like marketers don't avoid data necessarily, on purpose, right? They don't want to avoid data. It's like the default to which they're kind of set with. I've never met a marketer that lacks ideas, right? Like, but a lot of times those
Yeah.
ideas are dependent on having certain data attributes available to them. It's having that data within their MCM tool, within customer IO so that they can leverage it and like build those journeys and build those campaigns. But like they just can't get access to that data in real time to build that event trigger journey, to have that real time campaign. Like it's just and they're having to go to their engineering teams, they're having to go to their data science teams, they're having to try to build these justifications to which it's worth getting that engineering resource to then put this campaign into effect and have that time. So it's just a constant struggle, I think. And I don't think marketers really want to avoid the data, right? It's something that they've had to get used to doing. But that's where tools navigate, with customer IO connected to Segment, and obviously like having these like foundational data stacks enable the marketers to then start doing that themselves, right? And that enables them to start doing these use cases that they've always, dreamed of doing, and these personalization they've always wanted to achieve.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you're saying
Very.
with the IT component, having ownership of the data, having control of the data. That's really hard. That's often really fragmented.
Yeah. And so we're talking to customers everywhere. We're collecting signal from customers everywhere. Sometimes it can be difficult to get the data, make sense of the data, which is leading to these really weird customer experiences. I'm a Seahawks season ticket holder. Go Hawks. I got an email last week congratulating me on my season ticket holder anniversary, but the years was wrong. They just sent me the wrong information. So they were congratulations on multiple years of being a season ticket holder. Now I've only been a season ticket holder for one. That's a bad data experience, right? And now I'm obviously not giving up my tickets, but like I think about the customer experience and I immediately say, this is bad. This is wrong. You need to be better than this. And it impacts my relationship with the brand. There's probably a gap in their data structure. There's a gap in the way that they're resolving data and activating data. And so when you think about solving these gaps or solving these infrastructure issues, I just kind of want to throw this one to you, Nick. I know you're working with clients every day talking about this. How are you actually looking at data structures and looking at infrastructure to identify these gaps that are going to create bad customer experiences?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, where we really try to focus is on the use cases to begin with, rather than necessarily boiling the ocean on data. So like we're talking a lot about personalization. what do you need to actually show those Seahawks tickets and send that anniversary email?
Mm.
You may not need all the metadata on the tickets and how much you spent and stuff like that. You may be able to get away with a smaller data set. So then if you can trace, where's the source of truth for that data? Does that get to a warehouse? And I think that's also where we're such big fans of Segment and tools like it, is that does let you get the data directly from the source, get it into your warehouse in a standardized format, resolve the identities. I mean, I know Kyle will talk a lot more about that, but taking care of a lot of that data engineering work in advance is incredibly helpful. So we can just tie that infrastructure directly in.
Yeah.
Cool. That
And-
makes sense.
and kind of-
Kyle, anything to add there? I know you guys infrastructure and you're the
Yeah,
best.
no,
at it.
exactly. Kind of building on that, like, bad data has a massive impact on, customer experience and ROI. Like, I think like starting off like on the customer experience side, like your personalization is just going to fall flat. It's a huge aspect in today's world that people want to feel like the brands know them. And like you're a season ticket holder, right? That you're like one of the Seahawks most dedicated fans, but they can't even get your anniversary correct. Like, and that leads to a loss of trust,
Yeah.
right? Like you've kind of built this relationship. You've given them data. You think that you can they trust you with that data, and you're losing brand trust as a result. And then on the ROI side, like that becomes wasted marketing spend. They've paid a salary for someone to put together this campaign to, go after customers, to hopefully build trust, build loyalty with their customer base. And as a result, it's a missed campaign. Like they've done the negative effect. And if they were, say, on the ad tech side, say they're spending money on Facebook and Instagram and Google, and then they're leveraging bad data, that's like a huge waste of ad spend. If you're targeting the wrong segments, you're getting lower conversions. So on both the like personalization and the ROI side, there's just huge negative effects, unfortunately.
Yeah, and to what you're saying, if you have good data, you can leverage it in so many ways. Like personalization with customer IO is amazing. I've seen metrics of 40% higher click-through rates with appropriately personalized emails that are really speaking to those needs. But on top of that, if you have clean identification data, that helps your remarketing pools. That helps you get higher match rates with Meta and with Google and Trade Desk and resolve those identities out there. As well as BI, as well as everywhere. So you really know what you're doing and you're pushing all of those different channels. So worth the effort. It's a lot of work, but definitely worth the effort if you capitalize on it.
For sure, for sure. I appreciate that color and that context. So we're talking about data and sources and the effects of dirty data. What we want to do now is actually put this in practice and demonstrate how Segment plus Customer IO can create a feedback loop of great marketing, starting with customer data through activation and learning. I'm seeing a couple questions coming in. Yes, this will be recorded and sent out after. Love that you want to share this with your team. I see a question about reporting and how Customer IO has introduced the concept of human opens and machine clicks within our reporting. I'll touch on that a little bit later if we don't get to it. In our scenario, we'll answer that at the end. I think that's a really, really great question that's worth some time. So let's jump into this workshop. Obviously, we're donuts themed today. It's morning on the west coast of the US. So, I'm definitely thinking donuts. What we want to talk about today is the scenario, this company, Daisy's Donuts. Hey, Daisy. Daisy's Donuts is a community-powered donut discovery app. That sounds delicious. Maybe I'm just hungry this morning. It's for donut lovers everywhere. Find, log, rate, share favorite donuts from bakeries around the globe. Sounds pretty cool. Daisy's Donuts offers free trials of the app, but struggles to convert users into paying customers. Let's say Daisy has a subscription model. It's a few dollars a month. You subscribe, you get access to bakeries and reviews, maybe some coupons, really cool community that you can subscribe to. She might have incomplete or messy user data, right? You're talking about converting trial to paid. Generic mistimed communication is another problem she has. She doesn't always know who her people are. And there's also lack of insight into which messages drive conversion. So maybe she's sending communications, but she doesn't know if they're working or not. What Daisy has is a data issue. So what all of the issues could Daisy be dealing with? We're talking, yep, there's probably stale data. There's probably disconnected tech stacks. Nick, you brought this one up earlier. Trial signups with fake or throwaway emails. There's just not complete data there. Duplicate accounts, abandoned carts, inconsistent data, right? You think maybe Daisy is integrated with bakery point of sale systems. Maybe she has a Clover plugin or a Stripe plugin to power this app. Those might not be working. There could even be missing attributes. Maybe they don't know the location of bakeries or the location of users. There's all sorts of different ways that dirty data could get in here. Kyle, Nick, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add here before we keep going.
No, I think that's great.
Perfect. Okay, so Daisy, she's got an app. It's for bakeries. She's struggling to go from trial to paid. She's got some data issues. This is where this concept of a feedback loop comes in. What we want to talk about now is how you compare Segment with Customer IO in reporting and learning to go into this feedback loop. So Kyle, I'm going to hand it over to you to teach us more about Segment and how you manage messy data. I'll go ahead and drive the slides. You let me know when you're ready to advance, okay? Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so let's start here with again, the collecting and cleaning your data, where we'll really go over how Segment can help track a web app, event data, do identity resolution, and really help create enriched unified profiles. Next slide, Matt. So solving for the customer experience is often a really hard data challenge for teams to tackle. If a customer views an ad on Facebook, then they view your website, purchase a product, sign up for a loyalty program, say they have a customer support conversation. These are all multiple systems that are capturing that information. So there's often multiple versions of that customer in each system. Data then becomes fragmented across tools and teams, multiple teams purchasing different systems as well, without really thinking about how they integrate with each other. And really trying to make these systems work together, it really ends up bogging down companies with massive amounts of time spent on workarounds to try to really stitch all this data together.
Yeah, Kyle, you just said something that I want to repeat. You get these different versions of the same customer across systems. And I think that's a point of friction that we've all experienced as marketers where, using the version in Salesforce could be different than the version in Intercom where they're doing CS work, different than the version that you're talking to in Braze, in Customer IO, and even your Facebook ads. I think that's a really, really powerful statement. Different versions of the same customer across systems.
Exactly. And I'll talk more kind of about how like identity resolution is kind of something we offer that helps stitch that together. So, again, that's where a CDP like Segment comes in. We help companies break down those data silos across teams and tools. So you can have a single view of your customer across every channel and phase of customer journeys. I talked a bit about identity resolution, right? We take all of those different versions of that identity and we can stitch it together automatically into what we call a unified customer profile. So that's where you can have that single view. So Segment's complete, extensible, and scalable platform really gives every team in your organization access to that unified customer profile. It's complete with context from a data warehouse, and it can be easily activated everywhere your customers are, really helping to drive that better personalization at scale. We do this also while helping to maintain data privacy, security, and governance. So you can have trusted data infrastructure that's really primed for personalization in like customer IO. Next slide. So going into this like a bit deeper, Twilio Segment, again, we're able to help companies drive this customer experience because of three big things we talked about: unified profile, extensible platform, and our flexible AI. So kind of starting with the unified profiles, Segment profiles are the heartbeat of personalization. That's what enables personalization to be so precise and contextual. Not only does Segments unify a single view of your customer, but we handle that complete complex identity resolution and governance. Segment profiles aren't just email addresses. You can leverage every identifier across your ecosystem of sources. So including the rich data from your data warehouse, which can then be used to execute extremely precise targeted audience and personalization.
So to echo language you used previously,
Yeah,
you have different versions of the same customer across multiple systems and multiple tools. With Segment, now you have a combined
single
single
view.
version, one view of the customer that's built on the information from all of your systems and tools.
Exactly. And it will get rid of duplicative data. It will stitch together that data from those multiple systems into the unified profile. And then the great thing is that then you can take that unified profile or any of that data and then send it downstream to any tool that you want to leverage it in. So you can take that, send it downstream to customer IO, have a clean, concise user profile data, and leverage that to personalize any of those campaigns that you're trying to build. And so then jumping into kind of the extensibility side, I talk about any of those downstream tools. We have, you can integrate with any of our 550 out of the box connectors. Also including connecting to your data warehouse. It's a low code solutions. Our team really helps you identify those use cases and best solutions that you can put in place to execute them. So no real messy workarounds. And then finally, like AI that's accessible. So of course, AI is obviously a top of mind for everyone. And companies are starting to save a lot of time in addition to making customer experiences more precise with AI. So we offer out of the box predictive and generative solutions to help deliver incredible results as well as save ad dollars. We also have AI solutions to help developers who use Segment to save data configuration time. So really, all in, Segment drives more personalized experiences because of our flexible framework, and we do it at scale and work with your company's unique business cases to really help drive these solutions that customers are looking for.
And I think one of the key things there, Kyle, which you spoke about a little bit with the, pre-built connectors, is it really avoids tech debt as well. You can start with your foundation, all these things come through, and you're doing it well. You don't have your developers integrating with 1,400 different APIs. They can all come in cleanly, which is really, really key.
Exactly. And that goes back to that point earlier, right? Where marketers aren't afraid of the data. They're just, have the challenge of getting it. And this makes that easier, right? And really trying to empower the marketer here.
Yeah, for sure.
Here, next slide. So kind of bringing it back to Daisy Donuts, we can see that Daisy Donuts can't deliver this great customer experience because they're being held back by their disjointed tech stack and disparate data that happens as a result of all these different systems that they work with. All these interactions happen on different tools and systems. They need to speak together in order to create a seamless experience. But it doesn't happen without a lot of customer connections and inconsistency. This results in an incomplete view of the customer. Again, so sure, you have profiles, but they might be in these different sources. It's difficult to get that unified view. Data silos are a pain because they result in incomplete profiles. And it requires a lot of resources to solve this. So even though you have so much valuable data, you might be using a data warehouse. Being able to leverage data from all these different sources is very difficult for a single interaction. And unfortunately, this results in an incomplete customer experience. On the customer ends, this results in what we call this disjointed customer experience, right? And it's inconsistent. They get an ad that's irrelevant. They receive generic marketing emails, or the call center doesn't even know about, their purchase. So these are all issues that, Twilio Segment can help out with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we ran a poll at the beginning of this call, 25 minutes ago, and messy or incomplete user profiles was the top response, right? 35% of respondents said that was one of their, if not their biggest, one of their biggest data challenges. So Segment can help you solve that, right? Bring in all of these customer signals, different versions of the same customer across tools, bring it together into a single view.
Exactly.
Perfect. So now we've got these unified profiles. What are we going to do with them, right? Data is only half the story. Activation also matters. So let's talk about how we're going to use customer IO, how Daisy's Donuts is going to use customer IO for engagement and conversion. Really, it's about powering personalized journeys. Data means we can target with specificity. Now, if you've used Segment and you've resolved your customer data, you can build with behavioral conditions, recipient lists, campaign triggers, filters, conversion goals, more. All of these data signals allow you to better target your customer. There are scenarios where Daisy's Donuts app users may not read SMS. There may be some that love SMS. Guess what? Now you know this because you have this information. Again, you can target with specificity, which means you can target with authenticity, right? Specificity leads to authenticity because you can find the audiences that care, the audiences that matter to your business, and you can send them the messages you want to receive. And you can do that with two ways at the top with segmentation. Our platform supports data-driven segmentation with an AI-assisted or manual condition building. So you say, here are the conditions and the traits of my segment, find those people. And then because it's data-driven, as engagement happens in the workflows, those segments update. So if you have a segment of app trialers, as an example, if someone converts from free to paid, they're automatically removed from that segment. You don't have to worry about it. The other version that we can do is CSV uploads and API updates. We call them manual segments in our platform. These are just static lists with manual control. So say you are a segment power user and you're building great predictive segments within their platform. That's just an API call away. Simple, it's straightforward. There's a builder in our platform that you can do it. So specificity from clean customer data. Now you're targeting with authenticity because you actually know who your customers are. And now you can really personalize at scale. Now we're talking about targeted cross-channel campaigns to enhance the customer experience. With Customer IO, email, push, in-app, including multi-screen in-app, which is something new that we rolled out, where you can have an in-app message that includes multiple screens. And you've seen those, you've used them as a consumer. And SMS as well, right? You can connect your SMS provider of choice, start sending text. You can also use conditional logic in our workflow builder, and I'll show that in a moment. So things like wait until delays. So, hey, someone downloads the app, wait 3 days before sending them a message, as an example. Multi-split branches, so you can test within the workflows. You can also customize in real time with campaign triggers. So say someone converts from trial to paid, trigger a message. Really simple, really straightforward. And what this does, again, is allows you to personalize at scale. You're able to talk to a lot of people in a way that makes them feel heard and recognized. And so once you have that in place, now we start talking about this great drag and drop workflow builder that we have on our website. And actually, if you go to our website and you go to our platform page, under workflow builder, there is a demo that you can try out and just build some sample workflows. Really easy to use. Shikari, can you drop the link to our workflow builder page in the chat when you have a chance? So now, again, specificity from data, authenticity because you can build segments and know who people are, and now you can personalize at scale, and that unlocks campaigns, these life cycle experiences like we're saying here, right? From welcome message to upgrade incentive, from acquisition to engagement and retention. You can do this all because of the power of customer data. And I just wanted to call this out real quick. Personalized content wins. You see time and time again, we're all marketers here, you know it. Every time you personalize, you're going to see better engagement. And so just an example, 2 emails right here. One on the left, very simple liquid personalization done in our platform, whether it's in our legacy editor or our new design studio editor that's rolling out right now. Simple liquid, first name, last name, address, city. Really, really easy to do. If you're not using liquid in your emails, if you're not using liquid in your in-apps, if you're not using liquid elsewhere, please, please, please. It's an easy way to do it. There are plenty of helpers. We have a lot of documentation on our website as well, because personalized content wins. I know that's we ran through it really quickly, but that's just how simple it is. Once you have clean resolved data at the top, now you can get to the business of marketing and your creativity can shine. And we have the tools in our platform to help you build campaigns that convert. Thanks, Shakuri. I see Shakuri dropped the workflow builder link in the chat. Super easy tool if you're not using Customer IO. That's just on our website. You can go and play around with the workflow builder and see how easy it is to build these personalized campaigns at scale. So you clean data, you activate data, but it doesn't stop there. You need to send that campaign data back to Segment. In our platform, there's a really easy integration. You can send campaign engagement, so opens, clicks, conversions, back to Segment. And then Segment can use that data to then run more predictive, run more generative, do more resolution to help you build better customer profiles that then you segment against, right? Target with specificity, target with authenticity, and then you personalize at scale. Nick, I want to pass it to you here. Report and learn is often overlooked, right? We talk about doing it, but we don't always do it. And as I said, it's really simple when you connect Segment and Customer IO. But if you could just walk us through ways that people are doing it and why it matters, because this really pulls the whole story together, pulls the whole feedback loop together. This is where we become really powerful 10x marketers.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few different thoughts here. I've got a lot to talk about on more of the orchestration side and things like that. But when you look at reporting, I tend to think of it as sort of a hierarchy of reports, if you will. So you're going to have your data from Customer IO, which has great reports showing your email response, taking out noise with tracking actual humans opening it, which is a key superpower. Like, I can't tell you how important that is. And but you also have sales data, you have data coming in maybe from point of sale from your mobile app. And there really is a need to be able to look at that data from those multiple sources. I'm a huge fan of tools like Amplitude or Mixpanel as nice marketer-friendly tools that do a great job with sort of that event-style data that comes through with a Segment or Customer IO. Very quick to build reports. You can find impact type reports. So how much did this email contribute to an outcome versus another email? And then you also have your data warehouse. Everything going into a data warehouse is key, but that does mean you have an analyst involved. If you've got a great marketing analyst, that's a great path to take. If you don't, again, some of those more marketer-friendly tools can be really good. GA, unfortunately, with GA4 has kind of pulled the rug out from a lot of people. So we are seeing a lot more of our clients adopting additional tools on top of that.
Yeah, I think if we ran a poll on which analytics tool has most disappointed you this year, I think we would get some upvotes for GA4.
I expect so. I expect so. Yeah, and when we talk about, how you get into orchestration, what I want to do is just kind of walk through what that maturity curve looks like as you go through there. Kyle talked a lot about how Segment works and what it can do, and I want to talk a little bit about putting that in practice. So one of the first things it does is helps you reduce that tech debt, helps you set up a good foundation, and reduces the amount of work you're doing in Tag Manager and website coding and so forth. So you're able to take all of your data coming in, regardless of the source, and then send it out to all your destinations, to Customer IO and your other marketing channels, to your data warehouse, wherever it needs to go, customer success. Then you can activate it in real time or near real time, depending on the source, again, with a click of a button. You aren't going in there and building a custom integration for all these places. So you get much, much faster time to value, and you don't have 16 agencies managing your tags, creating 14 different versions of a conversion event.
Yeah, it's definitely a pain we've all experienced.
Yeah, and when you look at it, this is our little stack builder tool. I recommend you go check it out on the McGaw site. It lets you build out your stack and track your costs. So it's a fun little tool to map things out and show your boss what you've been doing. But if we look at sort of a basic e-commerce site, you're looking with Tag Manager, you've got a lot of manual tagging, you've got Customer IO in there, maybe you've got Shopify or something else, but things get really fragmented. All of these have their own version of the truth. Every ad platform says they brought in all your conversions. You add it up, you get 400%.
Perfect. I dropped the link to the stack builder in the chat if anybody wants to check it out.
Thanks. Yeah, and then as you start building out Segment, what you can really see there is you're bringing in the connections product, which is that data pipeline with everything. That was Segment's first product, and I'd say it's the undersold champion of Segment as well. It's the glue that ties it together. And then you also have Engage, which is driving those journeys. So at this point, you start seeing this interconnected network where you do have your events happening on the website, but you also have Customer IO receiving all those same events and feeding them back in. So you've got your email opens, your human opens, your clicks, all of your other response, as well as lifecycle stages. Where did this person fall out in a nurturing journey? You can bring that back in and then look at how you can continue to drive that relationship, even if they aren't responding to email. And then again, you've got this great network where you're sending things out to your ad platforms. You can even send that server side, so you don't have to worry about cookie blockers and things like that.
Yeah.
And again, you can orchestrate on those channels as well. And so when you see what this looks like, really what you have here is, let's say you've got your standard events, right? Web visit, add to cart, completed checkout. That's all great. This is your normal pixel stuff, but you've got one tracker and it's sending everywhere. It's sending to GA, it's sending to your ad platforms, whatever. Where this gets really powerful is then you can also bring in offline events. So maybe you've got payment information coming from your ERP or from Snowflake. Now you can bring that in. And how many of you have GA underreporting revenue by 20-30%? That's really, really common because people don't consent to tracking. They don't have individualized cookies. So you don't have true revenue recognition. Now you can bring that in from your warehouse. Again, push it to all the channels. Everybody has the same revenue number. And it's right. You're optimizing to real customer value. Or any other event that's important, installing an app, signing up for a membership, renewing, all of these things can come in and get tied back to that acquisition journey.
So in this scenario, thanks for walking us through this. I'm Daisy's Donuts. I push a redemption offer in app to trial users. Hey, Nick, you're in San Francisco this week. Go to this bakery, get some donuts, 20% off. I could send them into the store. They could transact, and let's say this bakery has Stripe. They could make a Stripe transaction. Segment is going to see the email, they're going to see the offer, and they're going to see the Stripe data. And they're going to connect those and say, this campaign, depending on your attribution model, this isn't an attribution models call, so we won't get into that. But you could say, right, at a high level, this email drove this offline transaction. Perfect. Yeah, we're selling donuts, man. We're doing it.
Yeah, and then one of the great use cases I like looking at is, how do you control your costs? Return on ad spend, customer acquisition costs, really, really important. And every marketer runs into problems where they don't have good data in order to align customer value, or they don't have the ability to get IT to put together a predicted lifetime value or something like that, churn likelihood. So now you can start balancing out those channels as well. So Customer IO, for example, very, very inexpensive to send emails. You can send a lot of emails if you want to, but you want to be careful not to over email. People may not be responsive to that. You can remarket the heck out of them on Meta, but that starts getting expensive very, very quickly, particularly if you're casting a wide net. So what you can do with that email feedback data then is hold off on remarketing on expensive channels maybe, or focus that only on customers with high predicted value. And that way you're holding off remarketing for 2 days, 3 days while you try to re-engage on email, and then start marketing those lower value customers. Also, when Daisy opens up a shop or starts selling retail, you can bring in point of sale data as well. You can bring in data enrichment, so you can try to refine that customer value, feed all of that in, and again, track those conversions wherever they happen, in app, in a store, online, whatever you have.
Yeah, there's the point of sale integration example. I was just so excited to talk about donuts on the last slide that I want to just get straight to transactions here. These are really, really great examples here, Nick.
And here's sort of an idea. This is just what I talked through about what you might be looking at with remarketing is you have an abandoned cart, right? The most fundamental nurturing program. And what we have there is Segment can kick out an LTV estimate. It can kick out a propensity to buy, or that could be a propensity to churn or any value you want. That's a really cool thing with Segment is those predictions can be against anything you can measure. You are not limited to retention or churn. You can look at predictions of the aha moments in your app. What are those tools you want people to use that you've identified as making them sticky? Then if you have the high value audiences, push them straight out to your expensive channels. If they're lower value, just send emails to them. And then only when they're unresponsive, if they're high enough value to justify, do you go to more expensive channels.
Yeah. And on that prediction side too, like one of the points is obviously you mentioned that we can do custom predictive traits or predictive goals for any kind of attribute. But we also have like some out of the box too. So like that, this example, right? Predictive LTV, like that's an out of the box predictive model. We have likelihood to purchase as an out of the box, likelihood to churn. So we offer these like, out of the box solution, but as well as your ability to predict on any of those unified profile traits, which is really powerful.
Those predictions can also be used for personalization. One of the best moments I love seeing with my clients when we're setting up Engage for them in Unify is when we click the catalog button and then click the what's the most likely thing this person's going to buy, and takes a couple hours for it to calculate. After that, it's just up to date. But suddenly in Customer IO, they've got a lovely list of here's what you should put in that email block for recommended products. And it doesn't require any additional integration. It's really, really out of the box, which is awesome. And similar to Customer IO, you can type in what you're trying to do, and Segment does a pretty good job putting those use cases in place for you. So you don't necessarily have to learn a new tool.
For sure. So, Kyle, will Segment also help us understand channel mix? So there was a question that came in about segmenting based on channel engagement, both in frequency of message, but also frequency or likelihood to engage with that channel. Does Segment support models like that?
Yeah, so we depending on if it's a data point in the unified profile, you could leverage that as like a predictive kind of channel to which you'd want to target them on for sure.
Perfect.
You could also bring that in from the warehouse as well. If you have a media mix modeling program, if you have funnel or anything like that, you can bring in those data as well and model them and bring them in so you can drive an optimized media mix.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think here, again, we've talked about catalogs, personalization. I mean, really, you immediately get to, should we send the glazed raised or jelly donut image to this person? Which is key. If you send me a jelly donut offer, I'm going to buy that. If you send me a glazed raised, that's not going to make me hungry. That's not how I roll. And the other things just to think about is some other great tools to put in there are loyalty platforms. These drive a huge response, loyalty points, subscriptions, things like that. If you bring a Talon, which is kind of on the high end, or even on the lower end, Loyalty Lion, whatever you want driving through a Shopify site, you can do a lot there to then use that to tier your customers, focus how you communicate with them, identify those loyal customers who, you can either coupon the people who are loyal, or you could not coupon them because you don't need to spend that money to retain them. And then the other part is just rolling out new integrations. We've all been running GA4 for a couple years now, and I'm still annoyed by it. And so I can get in there and just drop in another analytics tool that I like better, hook it up, it gets the events. You can even have Segment replay historical data. So you end up with 60 days, 90 days of data preloaded that you're able to use right away, which is amazing, that ability to just keep adding new tools.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? Once once you have your data sources connected and you've built a unified profile, activation becomes supercharged, right? Now we're talking about a world where you have this fully enabled stack, and I'm sort of, leading you into this slide here, but this is when it gets really, really powerful, right? I said earlier, the 10x marketer. Here we are. This is that moment.
Yeah, and I think you said it there, Matt. As you bring everything together, Segment does become this amazing source for bringing it together. And then where Customer IO really shines in this space is its journeys can then be driven by everything happening in Segment. And with that context in Segment can even set up journeys that maintain context of what's happening at the point an action was taken. So if someone's shopping for jelly donuts or about to subscribe, you can keep the exact donut they're looking at in a journey, pass that to customer IO so it's personalized, and other activities they take don't overwrite it. We can keep where your season tickets are and where you're at in that buying process instead of dropping you out of that first year mode, and keep sending the right information there instead of pushing an anniversary date when you aren't ready for it yet.
Yeah. It's obviously is a data product marketer. This gets me really excited. This visual, this idea of being able to say, I went from different versions of the same customer in multiple tools to a highly personalized marketing experience and a highly personalized brand experience as you connect non-customer IO tools. That's really fascinating. It's really magical, and it's all achievable. I think maybe we're haven't talked about that a lot yet, and it'll come up in the questions. But this is really achievable. Customer IO, like you can set us up out of the box credit card, right? Like there is a $100 a month plan. Segment, you're going to need a little more technical ability, but still, it's designed. Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Segment is very much designed for the data-driven marketer. It's not necessarily a tool that requires an extensive IT team, and put them together. And that's a really powerful, almost self-serve opportunity to build something of this quality and this impact.
It's like the deodorant, right? Strong enough for IT, but made for a marketer.
There we go. Perfect. And so we put it all together, and we end up with this incredible feedback loop. Some people, your business might call it a virtuous cycle, but it's really about collecting and cleaning, right? Get the data, munch the data, make it ready for activation. You bring in customer IO, and now we're activating this beautiful, beautiful resolved customer data. But then we're also building in this feedback loop. So now it's going back to the beginning, and we're getting better, and we're stronger, and we're iterating over time to create this really beautiful program. And I don't know about you, but I think Daisy's Donuts won. Daisy went in, she put in Segment, she put in customer IO, she's got a report and learn cycle going. And it's probably, I think last check, the number one donut community on the internet. What we want to do here, and Kyle, Nick, thanks for walking through all of this information with us. A ton of information, a lot of really great questions have come in. I'm looking at them. I did say I wanted to come back to this question about human opens. So let's start there. So our friend Samantha had a question: how do you navigate different data points from different applications? i.e. customer IO has human opens, but not a lot of other applications have the ability to show this. How would you communicate this and navigate this broadly? So I'm going to start with, we introduced a reporting feature, it's email right now, in our platform that shows with any campaign, human opens and human clicks. And so you get total, you get human, and then the delta is machine open and machine clicks. And what that means is a lot of ESPs, particularly Apple, put in, how do I want to phrase it? The way that they serve email, the way that they bring it in is they auto fetch or pre-fetch images in the emails, which helps load time when you go in and you click and it's there. What that does is it gets reported back, right? Because they preload an image, which then fires a pixel, which then reports back to platforms that that's an email open or an email click, when really it hasn't been engaged with by a human yet. And so what we do now in our platform is show you, was it opened by a human or was it prefetched, right? What we're calling a machine open or a machine click. These will change over time. So in a static moment, right, you might see a large number of machine clicks and a small number of human clicks, but over time, they're going to converge as people engage with that email. So what we're seeing now is we've got customers that are looking at it and treating it less as a moment in time, reporting on a moment in time, and reporting on a window. And so, right, some of you may be using look back windows for different types of media. It's starting to see that with email. And so the question of different data points from different applications, ability to show this. So we can send that out, right? Like that will be in our information. We can send it to whatever platform, your analytics platform, we can send Segment. You're going to have to tag it and make sure that it's ingested correctly, but we can totally report that out. We think it's really interesting. There's a lot of work happening right now to bring this to the forefront of what we do and make it a stronger offering in the analytics tool. So we're just really early on this. If you're interested in learning more, there are several blogs on our site right now, both from a marketer perspective, but also from a technical perspective on how this works. I don't know, Nick, Kyle, if you guys are running into this yet or having any conversation about human versus machine.
Yeah, I mean, one of the parts of that question that I think is fascinating is how do you navigate that with different stakeholders, and agree on the version of truth? Because this isn't just email. This is also AI bots crawling your website. It's click fraud. They're all over the place. And when you start focusing on clean data and clean metrics, your numbers go down. Some of those sort of vanity metrics of just opens, just website visitors, and vanity may not be the right word. Those are important metrics to measure your demand generation, measure, the quality of that email subject line, things like that. But ultimately, if you come back and say, hey, we cleaned our data and our list size just went down 20%, you want to make sure you don't get dinged. What you should see, though, is revenue per email sent should go up dramatically. Those robots are not buying donuts, right? So what you need to do is start steering that discussion towards an agreed upon source of truth. Multi-touch attribution, same challenge. You run into, Facebook will report one number, Google will report another. They never quite match. So again, these are all areas where, frankly, as implementers, I spend as much time as a therapist as I do as an implementer in helping work through how should that business define the truth and how do we get people focused on quality over quantity, which is really, really important to be able to effectively manage that journey and not spend all your marketing dollars on bots.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I think that's the motto right now, right? Don't spend your dollars on bots. Kyle, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I agree with everything Nick said. I think another point here, as I was answering one of the questions in the chat, with kind of like which data is actually worth tracking. It's like start with your goals, right? Like ask yourself, what decisions do I need to make? What customer actions do I care about? And then it's like defining your critical events. Focus on the important steps. Signups, purchases, churn, not every little click. And I think that helps you kind of filter through what some of that, bot data, I guess, might be, is really kind of defining like what's important and then focusing on cleaning that data, making sure that's accurate. And that kind of goes to like see what you're actually using, right? If you notice some data isn't being used in reports or campaigns, it's probably just noise. So it really, a segment lets you actually set clear rules for what to track as well. So you're only collecting, the valuable data that you need.
Excellent.
And identity resolution is the key to all of this.
It is.
Right? Being able to say this is the same customer from click to purchase.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So we can go one of two directions. I'm just toss it up to you, Kyle, you and Nick. One way we could go tying email to revenue. The other direction is AI modeling and Segment. Where do you guys want to start? I think both great questions.
I always want to talk about AI, but I love attribution too. What do you think, Kyle?
let's start with the AI then.
Okay. So Kyle, Segment's building all of these great predictive models.
Yeah.
What can you share about model availability and how you're building the data, or how you're building the predictive audiences?
Totally. So like, we always kind of say that like AI is as only good as your data, right? Like there's a lot of tools out there that are offering predictions or generative functionality. And it's confusing to navigate, right? Like you don't really know where you should be building those, what's going to be the most valuable. But everything we've talked about today, it's like having that that unified data profile set that's got identity resolution through it. It's clean, it's unified profiles, it's got rid of duplicative data, and it's got data from your data warehouse as well as any other tool that you have connected to it. Building your predictions and your AI in that tool, we feel is the best place because again, that's your AI is only as good as your data. Your models are only as good as the data to what you're feeding it. And then when it comes to that, we offer a lot of insight as well into the predictions itself. So we have insight views where you can see which data points are actually contributing to those prediction models. And a big part of our platform, it's trust, right? We want to like allow you to create trust with your customers, but you're our customers and we want to create trust with you. So when it comes to these predictions, we don't want it to be a black box. We don't want you to not understand how they're being calculated, how often they're being calculated. And we offer, really easy to view access to kind of all of those different predictions. And we let you, as mentioned, we're letting you predict on any traits within the unified profile, but we allow you also to predict at like an entity level too. So you can predict very granularly to what you're trying to achieve in those predictions itself. So again, a ton of power. And then again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to leverage those in any downstream tool.
And the other thing I'd add to that is
the model tree. Please. Go ahead.
No, as to echo Kyle, like the visibility you have into the models and Segment is amazing. Being able to see confidence levels, tweak which events and traits should feed into predictions is really, really powerful to experiment. I do have some clients though who are in interesting niche businesses or in healthcare, something like that, where they can't necessarily bring all the predictive data into CDP because it's HIPAA protected. And with those clients, they can absolutely build their models within their warehouse and push those up to Segment. It's just another source of data, and bring that in if for whatever reason Segment isn't the right place to do it, or you want to augment it.
Exactly. Like we understand to your point, like, there's some data that you can't bring in, and, we offer this like bring your own model, right? Like do the predictions that you want to do in Segment, but also, easily bring those in from your data warehouse and send that through Segment to your downstream tools as well.
Very, very cool. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I know we're a couple minutes before the top of the hour. I just want to thank you both, Kyle, Nick, for joining this webinar today. I know I learned a lot. I also just love looking at, infrastructure. I learned a lot. Hopefully it was informative for everybody in the audience today. I know we've got 60 plus people, lots of questions, great chat. Thank you, Kyle and Nick, also for jumping in the chat and answering questions while we were going through this. I feel like Daisy's Donuts is a success now. Obviously, we've solved this trial to paid conversion issue. For everybody on the audience, we will send out a recording. I do want to thank you for being here. We'll send out a recording of this session. If you have any follow-ups, go ahead and reply to that email, or you can reach out to me. It's just matt.johnson@customer.io. Happy to chat, happy to answer any questions. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm around. Again, thank you everybody for joining this discussion. We know that better marketing starts with data, smarter marketing starts with data, and there's a way to solve it. So with that, I want to go ahead and wrap it up and say thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Nick, for helping us out today. Thank you to the audience. And we'll just keep going. Let's go be better marketers, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.